My name is Rio Kaneki, and I'm a block printmaker, and I also do screen printing and graphic design for a living. I grew up in Japan, so what inspires me, album covers or all that kind of stuff. I was really into like punk rock music when I was younger. The skateboard graphic, old skateboard graphics, or Japanese culture, or like a North American culture, both. Ukiyo-e style, like it's like an authentic style of like Japanese block print. I was obsessed with those ukiyo-e, like ancient Japanese masters back in the days, and I was like crazy about them. And then I visited this print shop in Asakusa, Japan. I contacted them, and then I just went over to the company to see how things work in the most traditional way. I was really keen to learn those authentic way of printing, because I really wanted to become one of those like Hokusai or Kyosai, Would I be like as good as like these people one day? Like I'm just chasing them. They have done all those beautiful works hundreds of years ago. It's already done. Maybe I should do something else, like something more unique and something that I can see myself in it. It's so hard to find anything original, right? Because a lot of things have been done, like graphic design or like art. I don't want my work to look like other people's work. I just want my work to look like what I did. It's kind of easy for me to work block printing and screen printing. It's very similar when it comes to like multiple color print. So registration mark and like how you line up those colors. It's very similar. So like it was kind of a very natural path for me. Very first experience of carving and making block print was when I was really young. I was probably like 9 or 10 years old. It was the part of the education in the Japanese elementary school. We made block print as a part of the education. That was the very first time that I got to get my hands on to those carving tools. I started screen printing like around 20 years old, and then I got into graphic design and all that kind of stuff. Like those things came first, and then I started making block print again. Like first time I saw Black Flag, like album cover, and then I didn't even know what it was. I didn't even know like who Black Flag was back then. But like like those like 4 black bars, like it's in like the same like like one frame of like another album cover. So simple and so powerful and unforgettable almost, And then It made a huge impression on me. And then I was so young and I didn't know what it was, but like I wanna make something like this. That was like the very significant moment to me. I felt something that I really, really like this, you know? And then I wanna create something like that. Those things that I was inspired by, you know, like inspiration kind of came back, and then I just try to put those things that I like into this block print making, and then still using this like ability, like a skill, you know, like from like my heritage, you know, the Japanese carving style, and then, you know, like what if I put those things that I like into this medium, you know, and then that two different cultural like crossover. I don't know how many years went by, maybe like a couple years later or so, like I was introduced to the Grateful Dead, the poster of, you know, the skeleton poster with like a bunch of roses around, you know, that this guy Alton Kelly did. And I was just looking at it and then like, whoa, like, you know, like someone drew the whole thing, you know, by hand without using any computer. That was another moment that made the big impression on me. My process is always different. I do some stencil if I needed to. I use iPad. It's very important to do things faster sometimes, and yeah, so that in that way iPad is like very good tool for me. I use pencil. I used to use a light table and then like tracing paper and stuff, and like trace some images. I trace the image by hand, and then I make the image into more abstracted, just a two-tone of an image. After everything is carved, I roll ink over the image area and then put the paper on it and make sure the ink's transferred onto the paper, and then peel that off. Mural was another thing that I talked to many people about it too, and then you know, they gave me like a lot of ideas, good ideas and advice and everything. Maybe I should trace the image with, like, I don't know, just using the tracing paper. I'm not proud, but I bought this bunch of tracing papers from Amazon. It's not like 18 by 20 inch of like a block or anything. It's like 8 feet, you know. Like, but still, like, well, like, you know, like it takes a lot of time. Logically, it should work, right? So, yeah, you know, it was a fun experience and everything, and then I really liked doing it. I'm just talking like specifically, like talking about the mural that I did for Fernwood Coffee, but like that was like I wasn't sure like if that works until I peeled the image off the wall. I didn't follow like any advice that my friends gave me. You know, it was a long process and it wasn't easy at all. But yeah, it turned out really good, and then I really, really like what I did. My good friend of mine, Johnny, he's a dragon guy. Like he creates, he paints, draws, like it's a beautiful dragon. He asked me to do a logo for him, and he wanted me to carve a block and then to make a block print, and that's how it started. The name of the tattoo studio means dragon as well. Like it has to be his dragon. That's what I thought. So I asked him to draw the dragon around the design that I made, and then I just explained to him like how it should look like in the end. So like this design was like originally for a block print as well as the t-shirt design. We ended up doing a mural at the wall of the tattoo studio, and we took exactly the same path as what I did on the Fernwood Coffee mural. We used tracing paper. We didn't even use a projector or a grid or anything. It turned out really good because those designs that I did, they both have like lots of details in it. That's almost impossible to like project onto the wall with a projector or even like a grid. Yeah, it's using transfer paper was actually the best way to do it. Now I look back on it, it was like, I'm glad that I did that way. To think that it's a similar like process that I use for the block printing too. Tattooing as well too, right? Like a tattooing is, they use transfer paper and like a stencil. So I said like earlier that like I use a lot of different methods, like I use iPad, I use a pencil, brush, like I cut papers sometimes. It doesn't really matter how you do it, like how it's made. I don't think, in my opinion. My personality should be reflected in my work. Yeah, it takes days, or yeah, just hours and hours. You really have to be patient. I think like it doesn't matter if you went to school or like learned something, or like if you didn't, like, who cares? It doesn't really matter. As long as you can make your work look exactly the way you want it to look like, I think that's all that matters, and nothing else really.